Ladies and gentlemen, from the depths of flyover country in the heartland of America, the Kansas City on the other side of the mighty Mo, welcome to Hittin the Bricks with Kathleen, the genealogy show that features your questions and her answers. I am John, your humble hubby host, and on this episode, we'll be talking to Rhonda Fuller from Galveston County in the Hoosier State, the great state of Indiana. So let's start Hittin the Bricks. Welcome, Rhonda Fuller from Indiana.
Thank you.
Galveston,
Correct.
Indiana, not Galveston.
No, they'll correct you.
My understanding is that comes from a gal with a vest on.
Correct.
Is that true?
Yes. You must have gone to Galveston Elementary because that's what they taught the kids.
Not named after Texas.
No.
Glenn Campbell never wrote a song about it. Well, actually, I guess that's Jim Webb never wrote a song about it. Rhonda, what do you do in Galveston, Indiana?
Not much around here, where we don't even have a stoplight here. So it's just we go to the next town if you want to do anything.
So what you do is leave town.
Pretty much. Yep. You want to get groceries, you can't do it here.
Can't do it here. Things to remember Galveston by. Interesting name, no groceries.
So, John, Rhonda has a really good question.
Oh,
and I'm going to let Rhonda ask us what her question is.
What's your question, Rhonda?
I feel everyone should know about their grandparents.
Okay.
And my husband knew nothing of his paternal grandparents. And his dad was told that his parents were killed in a buggy accident, and he was raised by his half-sister in Elkhart, Indiana. As I started diving into his family 16 years ago, I found that supposedly his grandpa's name was Benjamin Fuller and his grandma was Bessie High. Benjamin was born in McKeesport, Pennsylvania, and Bessie was born in Elwood, Indiana. So in my research, I found that Benjamin had been married once, and then he married Bessie. Don't know the circumstances there. But when Bessie was 41, around 1932, I believe it was, she died of tuberculosis, and Benjamin left the boys in Elwood, Indiana, and disappeared. So the boys were left with their grandparents and their aunt and uncles, and they were going to put them in an orphanage. And that's when their half-sister came forward and said, no, I will take them. But we don't know what happened to Benjamin. Where did he go? And in my research, I have found that he changed his name several times.
Ooh.
He did fortune telling and sold elixir out of a truck. Yes, he did.
That's interesting,
isn't it? Yes, he was known as Dr. Fuller, and it was a free medicine show.
And this was in the 30s,
20s and 30s. Yes.
And Rhonda, exactly when did your father remember the last time he saw him?
He didn't remember him.
And what about the uncles, your uncles?
When I talked to his uncle Don, he didn't remember much about either of his parents because he was born in 1927 and his mom died in 1932.
So they don't remember either one.
And well, his dad died in 1979. And then his other uncle died in 2012, I think it was.
Okay.
So he does still have the one living uncle born around 1927 who told me that they had to entertain the audience vaudeville style on a stage, trying to keep them there while the parents sold the elixir out of the truck.
So there's a few things I'm going to just jump in here and ask you or talk to you about, if that's okay with you.
Yep.
Let's start with time frames. One of the questions I've already asked you is, when was the last time that there was a record of Benjamin? And as far as you know, the actual record that you see him in your genealogical work was about what time? Was that your 1930 census or?
I could not find him on any census. The last record that I could find him on was his wife's death certificate in 1932.
Okay. And you mentioned that the children went to the grandparents, and I'm assuming the high side.
Correct.
So, Rhonda, what do you actually know about Benjamin?
From what I can tell, he was born in McKeesport, Pennsylvania, April 19th, 1879, because I found him on the 1880 census at age 1.
And who was he living with?
He had his 2-year-old sister, Elizabeth, living with them, and his mother, Julia Ann, and they were living with her parents, and their names were Albert and Margaret, and they were living in McKeesport, Pennsylvania.
Okay, so you have this time frame with him, and you know that in 1932 is the last time you see him in an obituary and the death certificate. And you also know that he was from Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
And the death certificate of his wife, Bessie, is in Indiana?
Correct. The last time we did go to Pennsylvania and went to the Historical Society, went to the library. They were not keeping birth records that early.
Right.
And there was no record of any of them. I couldn't even find his grandparents' death place.
When's the next time you actually see the children?
There was a letter after their mom died from an attorney asking if there was any monies for their sister to help raise the boys.
And what was the answer?
Don't have an answer, and the family that had the letter didn't know what came of it. All I have is the letter from the attorney asking the question.
No response.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming that attorney law firm is out of business now?
More than likely.
Do you remember the date of that letter?
It is dated March 23rd, 1944, and it's from a lawyer's office in Elkhart.
Okay. So this is really exciting. This is a great project. And there's a lot of places you can still go. So I wouldn't yet call it a brick wall. I would say that though it has its own nuances. This project is about one man, two wives, 3 names, 4 states, and 5 counties.
And a partridge in a pear tree.
Exactly. So, Rhonda, I want you to tell us, and just to make sure my notes are correct, what were the names that you know him by?
I have Benjamin Harry, Benjamin H., Harry T., Harry Thomas, and Dr. Fuller.
Okay. Those are some fun names. And we know that we see the doctor a couple times. Do you know why he was called a doctor?
I figured he did that himself because he sold elixir and was trying to make more money.
Well, I'm sure you saw in some of the documents that he was a druggist. I think that was on a marriage record.
Yes, that's what he wrote down.
Yes, and he was a druggist.
Oh, really?
One of the things that you sent me was when Bessie was trying to get a divorce and she was trying to get her child back in 1924.
Mm-hmm.
She went to Elwood, Indiana, to get her child back.
Yes.
Her first husband had the daughter. And that is when I was paying attention to this Dr. Fuller.
Mm-hmm.
And they said his description was that he was a patent medicine vendor. Now, why is that important? Well, one of the reasons it's important is because the prohibition. During the prohibition up to 1933, only person who could get alcohol were the druggists and the patent medicine people. Now, a lot of those people ended up in prison because they killed someone with their elixirs. And that's one of the places I want you to check for him is in prisons. I think you found him even at the young age of 18 or 21 in a reformatory. Is that correct?
Correct.
Did you pull those records?
I don't know how to pull those records.
Wonderful. So you were literally going to call.
That's wonderful.
I knew that's the truth. Shut up, John. He's teasing me here, Rhonda.
I'm so happy for your misfortune for a nominal fee.
So you're going to call that was a federal reformatory. So there are probably records at the National Archives in that area. The regional National Archives for Pennsylvania, they will have some of those prison records.
Okay.
So I was talking about prison records. You asked, where can you get prison records? These reformatory records that he was in, the prison that he was in was a federal prison, and those federal prison records will be at the regional branch of the National Archives. I'll send you information on that so you'll know exactly where you need to go to look for that. And the reason, again, is because he chose that profession of druggist. That's a red flag for me. Because in Indiana, during that time frame, the law was, as a dealer of patent medicine or to do the elixirs, he was to register with the state. So that is... I'm sorry?
He was in Ohio.
Oh, in Ohio.
Yes. That is where they spent most of their time. That's where all the kids were born.
And I do see them in Ohio. I have them in Pennsylvania, Illinois, Ohio, and in 2 different counties in Indiana.
But most of the time was Ohio.
In Ohio.
Learned.
But in 1932, when she died, they were living in Indiana, correct?
Correct. Because she was sick for so long, she was in one of those institutions, but she died in someone's home. And when I called a person who was a child then, She told me that they had lots of people in their home they took care of till they died.
And you're saying that the children were not in Indiana, they were still in Ohio too, even though the mother was back toward where her parents lived.
I don't know for sure where they were during that time.
Okay, so that's where our states come into play, right?
Yeah.
So we said we had 4 states we have to work with. And you'll want to see, just like Indiana, if Ohio had some rule with registering the vendors.
Now, I do have in his prison record here that he was arrested for larceny and receiving.
So that's one of the things that I found was very interesting was his career, his occupation. The reason also that it's important is because that's how you're going to differentiate him from all the other Benjamin Fullers, Harry Fullers, is through his occupation. I did note also that there is a Harry T.H. Fuller in Leavenworth. So I don't know if he is the same person, but he did say his father's name was Albert and the age was about right, like 45.
And see, when I look at records, I don't find a father's name. Could his grandpa have been his father?
His grandpa was not his father. He claimed him as his father, as Albert. Well, we're hoping his grandpa was not his father. His mother was Julia, who was the daughter of Albert.
Something we all can join in and have some commonality. I'm sure he hoped at some point that his father was not his grandfather as well.
He puts down everywhere that his father's name is Albert and his mother's Julia.
He does.
But we're going to hope that's not true. We're going to hope that maybe his grandfather had a big part of his raising because his mother was an unwed mother.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she's using the name Fuller. The kids are Fullers. She's living in a family's house when the kids are 1 and 2.
Yeah.
So we're going to assume that his grandfather's not his father, but he uses it on so many documents. He decided it was, or he was legally adopted. I don't know. We do know that they went to Illinois. We know Julia was in Illinois with him. There's a lot of records that we still can't unscramble. And your husband did take the DNA test.
Yes, with Ancestry.
And in there, did he have any other Fuller contacts or connections?
Not that I found.
And he shouldn't, except on his maternal side, because there were other Fullers in that household with Albert and Margaret. So I would suggest you have that DNA actually analyzed, or just working through the analysis steps of how to analyze DNA. Meaning that you're looking for first and second cousins of your tester. Actually, you're looking for second cousins of your tester, which would be a third great or a second great grandparent, because that would be your most recent common ancestor. And that will help you find his father. Have they taken a Y DNA test?
My husband is not, no.
I would suggest you take that, because that would take him from himself to his blood father to that man's blood father to the next one's blood father. And that is on family tree DNA. Family tree DNA is the test that he will want to take with a Y, and that will help him find out the actual father of Benjamin, Harry Thomas.
Doctor.
Yeah. Dr. Fuller.
Yes.
I like this guy. He might have been a horrible person, but I like this guy. He's interesting.
So the other thing I did note, and I was very excited about this, was the court records. I didn't see a lot of court records that you had on your tree.
No.
You want to pull these court records. They're exciting.
Okay.
You start with the Anderson, Indiana court records with that 1924 case, and it can get a little expensive. So watch your budget, but that would be a good one to find out. The next one is one I stumbled on. Now, let me make sure I explain my process. I don't do your research for you. The idea is it's a do-it-yourself research. I'm just going to guide you through a research plan as I would do it. So in order for this to be a brick wall, to me, I would need to look at wills and probates, guardian records, look at the social time frame, which is like prohibition time frame, and look at military records as well as court records. Well, the court records to me are just so juicy. They had no discretion in what they told in them. So in that, you want to get the divorce records, and you want to check, of course, for prison records. But there are a few others that I didn't mention. So the guardian record, and you mentioned the 1944 letter, that date is important because the lawyer who was asking for the money was asking, I guess, for Vivian Robinson, who became Sherwood in 1940. But I did a typical look that I would look when I'm doing my research plan. What court records can I go through? And so when I'm looking at which court records I can go through, the one I know I want to do is Elwood and Madison County. Was there a guardian record there? We also know that we want to do Elkhart County, Indiana, because that's where Vivian lived when the boys were in the 1940 census. Now, that's a fun place to look because that particular area is divided into 2 counties. So you also have to look in both Elkhart County and Tipton County. So you're looking in Elkhart County is in Goshen, and then you're also looking in the Tipton County courts. So I quickly go in and I check, okay, what are my resources? And that tells me on my research plan, do I need to make a phone call or can I go right to Family Search and look it up? I went to Family Search and said, oh, okay, they have some indices here. In those indices, Bessie Fuller is named with Vivian Sherwood in 1944. So that tells me already that there's a will, a probate, and it was considered a guardian papers. So there is a legal guardianship somewhere because there's land involved. And Bessie High Fuller, I'm saying Bessie High Fuller. I do not mean that. Oh, I know that is correct. Bessie High. Okay, so that's her maiden name. So that was correct. Bessie High Fuller.
Wait a minute, let me put on my cough button so they can't hear me cynically laughing over here. Hang on, just.
You can cynically laugh if you wish. Bessie High Fuller.
Are you sure?
Thank you. I got it now. I got it. What did you just say? What did you say, Rhonda?
Well played, Rhonda.
Wait, what did she say?
There's another name in there. She was Bessie High Luther Fuller.
Yes. Yes, she was.
Well, I don't think we can take another name. Let's just stick with
Bessie High Fuller.
Yeah, let's go with Bessie Fuller, I think.
Okay, so no, Bessie High Fuller, who was the preacher's daughter, her mother died, Eva, E-V-A. Yeah. She died in 1944.
Ah, okay.
And the land that Bessie inherited was from her mother because, of course, the father was already deceased. In Bessie's part of that inheritance, because she was deceased, it went to her 3 sons. Now, I don't have the documents. I haven't been able to look at it, but I immediately knew that there was something going on in 1944 because that is way after Bessie had died, because she died in 1932, but somehow Vivian was going to be the guardian of these 3 boys who are named in the index. She's going to be the guardian of their money and their land. And I don't know which one it was, but there seems to be a lot of land from Bessie, their mother's estate. So what I'm saying is you want to pull that court record because we don't know what it will tell. But what we do know is we don't know enough information about this family yet. So I do know that one is in Elkhart. I do not know it's in Elwood and Tipton. Family Search has the indices, but I did not see any documents, which means you have to call the actual courthouse. So that's a great place to start. The court records that we want to make sure we covered was the one in Pennsylvania with the lawsuit and anything that might be in Sharon, Pennsylvania, because that is where he was when her first marriage broke up and that she had ran away with this great Dr. Fuller and left her husband Luther behind. So we want to look at that court record. We also want to look at the prison record. You also want to look at that actual divorce record in Indiana, and you want to do the guardian records in all of Indiana. But from what you're telling me, they were also in Ohio. So you also will want to check in the Ohio County Court that they were living in to see if there's guardian records there. Somehow Vivian got an illegal guardianship, though.
Yep.
And so that's what you're chasing. Hopefully the guardianship explains where the husband is or where the father of these children might be.
I know they had a baby that died at 3 days in Ohio.
Yes, I saw that in a little town called Augleys or something.
And I have a birth certificate for Jack, but there was no birth certificate for John, Don, or Olive.
And that late in time frame, they should have had a birth certificate. If they went to the military, which they probably were at least drafted, they would have had what's called a delayed birth certificate if they didn't have their original. So somewhere there should be birth certificates because we're talking the 1920s and every state had birth certificates then.
But you might have seen the letter I included, dated June 13th, 1944, which said it was a certified copy of the birth record for the twins as found in the grandmother's Bible. And that's what they used for their military admittance.
And family Bibles were totally legal.
What's funny is I found the ancestor that has the Bible and they're not in it. So we don't know that that was really their birth date.
Okay, so let me just go back up one more time.
That's fun. That is okay.
This has been lots of fun.
Bessie High's father was John High, and he was a minister.
Yes.
And do you know the church that he was the minister of?
Church of God in Elwood, Indiana.
And did they keep any records?
I've not gone there. I've gone to the library, but not the church.
I do not know much about the Church of God because some people, of course, don't get baptized until they're older. But if they baptize babies, it might be in a church record. So you want to do a church search.
Okay. What's funny, too, is Eva was an ordained minister also in the early 1900s.
So is that the Bible that you actually have?
There's another family member that has it. She has the Bible that she preached out of and the Bible that the family records were documented in.
I'm going to ask you to go to one other place. Have you gone to the Indiana State Archives?
No.
I want to make sure that her possessions weren't turned over to the Indiana State Archives. And I don't know if it's called the State Historical Society or the State Archives, but you will want to go to the state also, as well as the county, to make sure that they don't have what is called a vertical file on this family, because it sounds like they were quite important in the community, meaning they were ministers, they were leaders, they had no problems reporting about them in the papers. So I want to know, did the family clean out everything? And what they didn't want, was it turned over in the last 2 generations, or is it still in someone's home? So there might be some other documents that you haven't seen yet that might be out there in a vertical file, meaning by the High last name. And at this point, we know that researching Benjamin is of no help to us at all. So the only way you're going to learn about Benjamin is from everyone else, including his sister who died a year or so earlier, unfortunately, and his mother died a year or so earlier. So they are no help to us.
Isn't that interesting that Benjamin can actually, at a certain point, almost successfully disappear with everything that we're connected by? That it just would seem to me there's going to be an AOL account or something.
And he has something.
He has an AOL account?
No, John. He does not have an AOL account.
Did we have a breakthrough?
That was not the breakthrough.
It just seems like it would have been much easier to disappear back then than it is possible now.
It was possible because we don't know if Benjamin had a second family somewhere else. We don't know anything about this guy. All we know is his occupation, his age, and his mother and sister's name.
And if he had an Instagram account, I'm just saying that it would be harder for him to disappear.
It would be harder, sweetie. Yeah, if he had a social media account, it would be harder.
Okay.
So I wasn't able to find a first wife for him either. We know that he was married before Bessie, but I have no idea who it was or where.
So we know he's in Sharon County when he's dating Bessie. He's in Sharon County, Pennsylvania.
According to the newspaper article.
According to that newspaper article. The Anderson, Indiana court that handled that paperwork might give you a hint. It's not going to talk about his marriage, but you're going to have to trace that back. So we know that he was in Pennsylvania, and then the next time we see him, he's in Illinois.
He claimed he was living in Chicago when he married Bessie.
Right. And she agreed with it. So we don't know if she really even died of TB at this point because he was out there making medicine. So,
what a scurrilous accusation. How dare you?
Well, you don't nothing about this guy.
You?
We don't know much about his character, right?
How dare you impugn this man? He might have murdered his wife.
What's funny too, looking at all this, is my father-in-law was born August 2nd of 1924, but their marriage certificate is 1925.
And she's a preacher's daughter, so she did the right thing. Stay away, stay in Pennsylvania and not bring shame on the entire family. But she did anyway because the community wrote it up in the paper and everybody knew about the minister's daughter. But in the meantime, who she married is definitely questionable because all we know is who he was as a child in Albert's house and his name. And his birth date seems to be consistent up to a point. As long as we can see him, he pretty much says the same date of 1879, I believe it is, in April 19th. So that does not seem to change.
Rhonda, is your husband aware of any of the research you've done on this? Or are you saving it up for a big package?
Oh, yes, because I had to contact his living uncle to see if he could help with anything. And that was an interesting conversation because he said, no, my parents were killed in a buggy accident. And I said, I can tell you they weren't. So I sent him copies of everything, including the death certificate for his baby sister that he didn't remember being born.
My.
I even found a picture of his mother that he had never seen. I sent him pictures of her headstone that he had never been to.
And his sister is in the deceased sister is in that same cemetery. So did they just never go back to?
There's no headstone for her.
Okay.
There's 2 headstones that you cannot read. One of them, I think I saw a shadow of a name William, which would have been Bessie's brother that died when he was 12.
I just saw them all listed on Find a Grave. Did you see that?
Yeah, I was there.
Yeah. Okay.
I found if I took a picture of it, different angles, different times of day that I've been there, that I've been able to see a little bit here and there. And when I've gone to them and asked them about who's buried where, they couldn't help me much at the cemetery.
The cemetery records didn't have it?
They weren't sure who those 2 graves belonged to. They could look by name, but they couldn't tell me unless I had a name. Like I gave them Bessie's name and they said, oh, I know where that is. I can show you. And I said, what are these 2 beside her? And they couldn't tell me that.
Right. That is not uncommon for that time frame.
Yeah.
I want to make sure that we have a clear understanding what we're looking for. We are looking for Benjamin Harry Thomas Fuller, Harry Benjamin Thomas Fuller, anything like that. But the only way to do it is with all these other people. We can't look for him. He's unlookable, but he's associated with something and someone. At the time of his death, there were death certificates in all 50 states. We don't know if he changed his name, but he definitely didn't want people to find him, especially you there, Miss Rhonda. He could have been in the military. He might have joined, but he would have been much older. However, he might have been in one of the earlier wars, as in World War I, and was claiming a pension, which is another place to look. I did quickly do that when I do my research plan. There are plenty of Benjamin Fullers, Harry Fullers, and Benjamin Thomas Fullers and Harry Thomas Fullers for you to go through. He could be deceased, and with his circle of friends, that would not have shocked me. Speaking of the circle of friends, when he was younger, he had 2 other guys, young men, who were arrested with him. Those 2 men need to be searched. Where did they go? What did they do? When they all went in the same date, they all came out the same date. And you can see that on the prison records. There is a Eugene Neal and a James Mellon. You need to trace them because we're doing cluster research because that's the only way we're going to get to our bullseye here. The other thing I want to mention is to make sure that we know the next steps. The first one, get the Guardian records. We know there's one set in Elkhart, the 1944, but Vivian had to have guardianship before the courts gave her permission to administer the children's assets. So that's the first thing you want to do is the court records. I did see this one prison record that did intrigue me because it said dad is Albert, but the mom was not correct. And that was at Leavenworth. And if you're interested in getting something like that, it's about $25. I have not seen the record. I've only seen an overview because it's online. And there's a picture, by the way, if you know what this man looks like, but no one had pictures of him, or did they?
I do have a picture on my ancestry with him and Bessie and the 3 boys once.
So this would be an older picture, and he was in Leavenworth. What we don't know is in 1930, was he really even in the house?
That's a good question, because was she sick in an institution at the time, and where were the boys then?
Right. And with the minister, it was very important to him to call him Dr. Fuller in her obituary. The only thing that makes me think he was in the house is because he did sign as the informant on her death certificate. So I don't know about the timing there. I just think that, again, put out a full timeline of every moment you see everybody. The other one is the Elwood, Elkhart, and that entire county in Indiana. You have to do all three of the counties, the other one being Tipton. I keep wanting to say it's Madison County, which is Elwood, Elkhart County, which is in Goshen, where Vivian lived, and Tipton County, because part of that town is in both counties. So this particular area had two. So you'll have to check both, because people went to the closest courthouse. They didn't necessarily go to the one where they were residing. You have been to the County Genealogical Society you mentioned?
I went to Elwood, yes.
So again, visit all of them. Make them work with you and put heads together, because there's something that this guy was running from that he never even bothered to come back to visit. The DNA analysis is going to help you a lot with finding who was Benjamin Harrison's real Benjamin Harrison. The obituary is going to...
Okay.
The DNA
I
is
mean,
really
am I
good.
supposed to leave that sitting there? I think it's remarkable that he went from selling snake oil out of the back of a van to being one of our well-known presidents. This is an extraordinary story.
Okay.
I love history.
Let me clean it up a little bit for you. The DNA will help your husband to figure out who was Benjamin Fuller's actual family line, and that is the paternal side. So that will help a lot. And I think you'll have fun with this. I think there's a lot of work to be done before you can even say it's a brick wall, but you have a lot of places to go. Do you have any questions for me, Rhonda, beside that?
Not that I can think of. I really appreciate all this, because I just didn't feel I had anywhere else to go. So this answers a lot and opens a lot more doors for me.
Good.
Right.
That's the whole idea. Because in your case, I would classify this as definitely brick wall material potential. You have a case that says, I may never find this guy, but you'll find something about him.
And don't forget to check his Facebook page. It's got to be there somewhere.
Okay, John. I'm sure, Rhonda, you wouldn't waste your time on such a thing. But thank you, John.
You're both very welcome.
So, Rhonda, I want to thank you for joining me today, and John also with his silliness on Hittin the Bricks with Kathleen. I hope that you will keep in touch and let me know what you find out. In the meantime, I'm going to send you a couple of the things that I have that was on my research plan, and be sure to work from a research plan, one item at a time. Just take your time and enjoy.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you doing all this with me.
So thank
Cheers,
you.
Rhonda. Thanks very much. Well, congratulations. You've made it to the end of an episode. Thanks so much for staying. Thanks to Rhonda from Galveston, Indiana, for spending some time with us. Thanks to Chewy Chewbacca Brandt, our part-time second AC and full-time Title IX violator of rabbits, for his unwavering lack of interest in anything we're doing. The theme song for Hittin the Bricks was written and performed by Tony Fistknuckle and the Aphids. Watch for their next appearance at the Canoga Park landfill. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and of course Buzzsprout. We'd love to hear what you think about the podcast, so stop by our Facebook page at Hittin the Bricks and let us know.